I want to go to the transfer portal because this transfer portal is totally changing college football. We know it, right? We clearly know it. And I think that it's going possibly under the radar just how impactful the portal has been. And maybe it's not. Maybe it hasn't. I don't know. I mean, but if I were to just start like listing off some of the names of the players that not just had good years, because it's less about that for me than it is about, are you impacting the way that we watch and enjoy the sport? So you've got to go and turn a program into a contender, whether it's on a conference level or a national level. These are some of the players that like I felt like had a direct impact in the way that we watched the college football season from a playoff perspective, the ultimate goal. USC was in the playoff race late. So all of those transfers from USC, to name a few, Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison, Travis Dye, among others, obviously. Those are clearly some of the biggest ones. Alabama was in the playoff picture. Jahmyr Gibbs, how big of an impact did he have on Alabama? He was largely outside of Bryce Young, their best offensive player and weapon. Michigan is undefeated. They're better running the football than they were a year ago. They're tougher on the offensive line. Why? A transfer. Olu Oluwatimi comes in from Virginia. They lost those pass rushers. Guess who stepped up and played pretty well? Yabi Oki. Both of them transfers. You look at Ohio State. They were impacted by transfers as well. Jim Knowles had to put in this new defense. He comes over from Oklahoma State. And one of the reasons why they were able to grasp and pick up this defense as quickly as they did is because of Tanner McAllister, the transfer safety from Oklahoma State. That was huge. Chip Trainum transfers to Ohio State, and he was getting all the big carries against Michigan. Look at TCU. TCU. No one talks about TCU. Everyone's like, man, look at what Lincoln did in year one. And look at what they did in the transfer portal. TCU did almost the same thing with basically like under the radar names. Sonny Dykes in his first year, he brings in their most important transfer, their center, just like Michigan. By the way, both of these guys in the playoff, Alon Ali. He comes in from SMU. They bring him over. Mark Perry, the safety from Colorado on that defense. Johnny Hodges, the linebacker on that defense. These are just names, by the way, that are like directly impacting the playoff. That's not even considering guys like Michael Penix, who led the country in terms of passing at Washington. Took them to 10-2. They're 12th in the country. How about Bo Nix at Oregon? Like, it is littered out there with guys that had a direct and immediate impact on programs in a large way. So what does that tell you? A long dissertation to basically tell you this isn't going anywhere, and it will continue to impact college football at the highest level more and more and more. So what does that mean? What does that mean? This is really what I wanted to get into, because it's not just about acknowledging what happened during the course of the year with transfers. It's also about thinking about the point in time in history right now that we're at in the sport. Because if you're a head football coach in college right now, if you're an athletic director, this transfer portal is not going anywhere, whether you like it or not. So you will adapt or die. No two ways about it. That's it. You will adapt or die. And by the way, I've seen this before. See, right now it's a transfer portal. In 10 years, it'll be something else, and we're probably NIL along with that. But this has happened before. Okay, so early 2000s and really into like the mid 2010s, 12, 13, 14. There was an arms race in college football, and you were either investing in your program, in both ways, by the way, in people, in your coaching staff, and in his support staff, and facilities. Okay, so you were investing in brick and mortar, or you were investing in human capital. And there were some programs that did that better and bigger than anybody else, and they started winning heavily. Clemson and Alabama did this as well as anybody out there. They invested so much into their programs, and they started to win, and they started to win at the highest level. And then those two dominated the sport. And what was interesting to me is that they started dominating these teams who did not adapt. So through this arms race, what happened is that these schools adapted, these coaches adapted, these programs adapted, others didn't, and they died. Because I remember when Florida State was the cream of the crop. I remember when Miami was great. I remember when Texas was great. I remember when USC was great. And for about a decade, they all went away. You know why? They didn't adapt to the arms race. They didn't invest in their program nearly like those other programs did. You know who else did? They kind of saw the handwriting on the wall. Ohio State went out and got Urban Meyer, got the staff, did everything they needed to do what? Compete. And they won a national championship because of it. Guess who else did it? LSU. Guess who else did it? Georgia. Like, these are the teams that went out there and invested in a big way. They adapted. Others didn't, and they died. So now, here we are in the smack dab in the middle of the transfer portal era. It's here, and it's not going anywhere. And it's going to impact us all the way to the playoff and beyond for years to come. So you better adapt or die. How do you adapt? Let's talk through how you adapt, because it's not enough for me to just scream and yell about, hey, you got to do this, you got to do this. Okay, what do you have to do? Well, first and foremost, you have to realize that your head coach cannot be the end-all, be-all in your program anymore. It's far too big. It's way too big now. He can't be the fundraiser and the head coach and the recruiter and now the GM. He can't do that. It's a job that is far too big for one man. So I believe that every program in the country that is serious about playing at the highest level should have not just a personnel department, but someone in a general manager's type role, a GM. Because every single year, almost every roster in the country is going to be rebuilt. In order to do that, you better have a guy who has a department under him that is evaluating, that understands your culture, that can help your head coach build your roster on an annual basis. The head coach can't do that. The transfer portal opens the day after the conference championship games. So if you're really good, you got 24 hours to dig in there? Come on. You can't do that. Adapt or die. Adapting means that you have a personnel department with someone up there that has legitimate credentials like a GM. I believe that you've got to have 3 arms of your recruiting or personnel department. If you don't have 3 arms of that department, you're going to die. You've got to have what I'm talking about, a GM that's focusing on the transfer portal. You got to evaluate everybody in college football. You got to know which ones are going to fit and which ones aren't going to fit, so that if they enter the portal, you can then attack and start recruiting. And that's an arm of that personnel department. You've got to have a high school recruiting department that all they do is recruit and evaluate to try to get those kids into your campus. And then you better have a third arm that's evaluating with clear eyes your own players and recruiting your own players, the ones that you want to stay, and then maybe ushering to the door the ones that you don't want to stay. It's vital. It's vital. And the programs that understand this are going to start to take off in this environment. And you're starting to see that with some of these teams that are having success through the portal right away. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here, College Football on Fox.